Welcome back everybody, this is your teacher Maha, and today we're going to talk about the passive voice. Ooh, okay, there you go. So let's take a look. What is the passive voice? Okay, so an everyday sentence, we normally use not the passive voice, but the active voice. Okay, so for example, I make a cake. Okay, this is a very simple sentence, and we have always a subject, in the case I, and then an object. I make a cake. In that case, the cake or a cake is the object. Okay, so normally you always have a subject, then you have a verb separating the subject from the object. Okay, so I make the cake. Okay, but sometimes you want to emphasize not the person or the thing that does the action, that makes the action, but you want to emphasize the object. Okay, and sometimes so you can switch places. Okay, so instead of the object getting the action, it could be an act, but it's not an action, right? For example, we could say the same sentence but not emphasizing the person who makes the cake, but emphasizing the object. Okay, so the same sentence could be said like this: the cake is made by me. Okay, I could only use the cake is made. Okay, but of course if you want to make it more complete, you can say by me or by the subject. Okay, so pay close attention that whenever we want to make a sentence in the passive voice, like the second one, we switch places. So what was the subject becomes an object, and what was the object becomes the subject. Okay, the subject is dealing with the verb, right? Is making the action which is represented by the verb. Okay, there you go. So whenever you do that, you always end up not only switching places, but you always end up adding the verb to be and the past participle. Okay, and that will happen for any situation, in any modal, in any time verb. Okay, for example, let's see a sentence in the present. Okay, English is spoken all over the world. Okay, we could say in the active voice like the whole world speaks English. Okay, that will be the direct order, the active voice. Okay, but in that situation they use it differently. So English is spoken. Okay, we have the verb to be and the past participle of the verb speak, right? There you go. Let's see a sentence in the past. Okay, this house was built 50 years ago. Okay, you could say in the active voice, 50 years ago somebody built this house. Okay, that's okay. But if you want to emphasize the house, the object, you could write like this. Okay, so this house was built. We have the verb to be now in the past, and we have the past participle. Simple as that, right? Let's see a sentence in the future. Oh, that one is nice. He will be fired. Okay, you could say in the active voice that his boss will fire him tomorrow. Okay, that's the active voice. We have the subject doing the action, right? But in this case, the person who will be fired, he's more important to the context, right? So we put him first, and he, instead of acting, he will get the action, right? So he will be fired. Okay, that's nice, right? So we have verb to be in the future, and then we have past participle of the verb to fire, right? But of course, there are always some exceptions. Okay, so whenever we have a verb like give or to offer, they all mean they're pretty much similar. And also verbs like land, offer, throw, which they are basically the same. They mean something like giving away something. Plus some other verbs, you have two ways of using the passive voice. So let's take a look at that. So let's see an example with give. So the prize was given to me. Try to switch places. So instead of the prize as a subject, try to use it as an object. So you will end up getting the next sentence. So I was given the prize. Okay, so you have two different ways of saying the passive voice. That's nice. Let's take a look at another example with offer. Okay, so the job was offered to them, right? Try to switch places, right? You will end up having something like they were offered the job. Two great ways of saying the passive voice, right? That's it. So now let's take a look at some of the expressions, okay? This one is very nice, okay? I've been waiting here for a while, okay? For a while. For a while is like for a moment. This is a great situation in which you can use the present perfect, right? Because you're connecting something from the past up to the present. There you go. So now you have a better way of saying that you have been waiting for 10 minutes or some unspecified time period, right? I've been waiting here for a while, for a moment, right? Unspecified period of time. Oh, that's a really difficult word to say, but you got the idea, right? The next one is for instance, okay? For instance is like a more sophisticated way of saying for example, right? Now you know how to say for example in a more sophisticated way. Let's see. She can speak various languages, for instance, English, Italian, and French. We could say, for example, that's okay, but for instance, come on, you are advanced students, right? You deserve that, okay? Next one, I can't stand listening to folk music. That's funny, right? Can't stand is a verb. We don't have a similar one in Portuguese, and it means when something is not very nice for you, you don't like that thing too much, right? So that thing is unbearable for you. So for example, in the example, the person just can't listen to folk music, hates folk music, okay? But instead of saying hate, you can, or I can't bear, for example, you can say, I can't stand listening. And stand is one of those verbs who apply that gerund rule to the next verb, the following verb, right? So you can't say, I can't stand to listen. Wrong. I can't stand listening. I can't stand eating raw fish. I can't stand talking on the phone too much, etc, etc, etc. Okay, another example. Sorry, I can't stand him anymore. Okay, so the person is probably annoying, right? So the person can't stand the other person anymore, right? Okay, we have a similar expression, which is also a verb, a phrasal verb, that is similar, but it's quite different in terms of meaning, right? So can't help, okay? Can't help, we don't have that verb in Portuguese, and it means that something has a strong effect on you, that you cannot not do the thing, okay? So, and for example, imagine that you are on a diet, but you really love chocolate, right? So even though you are on a diet, you can't help eating chocolate. That's stronger than you, right? So you can use that verb in that situation when something is too strong for you. You can't avoid doing, right? That's it. And that's a fantastic phrasal verb for you to know, right? And finally, another example. She doesn't want to think about him, but she can't help it. Ooh, everybody's been through that. Been there, done that, right? That's it. And if you want to see a practical use of these two verbs, these two phrasal verbs, check out these songs. The first is Can't Stand Me Now by the Libertines. Okay, I love that song, And then we have a classic, right? Elvis Presley, right? Can't Help Falling in Love. This song has been covered. Okay, pay attention. I've just used the passive voice. the song has been covered. Okay, so the song is a classic. It has been covered by various number of bands, right? So take a good look at it and enjoy yourselves. Okay, I am Teacher Maha, and I see you next time on the next lesson.